What's up, TCCTU and ORU? It is Samson here again for another episode of The Fitting Room, but more specifically, we are beginning our fall season, fall 2025. We're here, we're in it, and I want to say thank y'all so much for really just the love and support that y'all have been giving when it comes to the Fitting Room Project, and what we're doing here. And what I mean by this love and support, whether it's through following along, whether it's through subscribing, whether it's through the guests who have come on and are continuing to come on to share their story, or whether it's through just the few people who have been messaging and just sharing their appreciation for the project or really what they love about it. And that's encouraging because it's almost like a reminder to me in this whole journey that people are interested in listening. They're interested in listening to other people's stories, and it gives hope that like we can really create an atmosphere here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where students listen. Usually I do kind of like a solo episode like this to start off the seasons. And so maybe you've seen one of these before. Maybe this is your first time seeing this. And in this episode, I kind of just bring vision to the whole project just because I want us to remember and be reminded of what this whole thing is about. But also it's an opportunity to give people a little bit of a glimpse of who I am, just because I'm not trying to, this isn't like a, we're not trying to do like a bait and switch here, or I don't want people to be like, oh, who's this guy or what's going on. So I kind of come on here and just share a little bit about my life and not really like super deep. It's actually like, I mean, this episode is not going to probably go more than 10-15 minutes, but nonetheless, just a little bit about myself, just in case you might be wondering who's this guy. My name is Samson. I work as a pastor at the First Adventist Church. I've been a pastor for 5 years, and I've been married to my beautiful wife for 4 years, Natalie. She's amazing. She just gave birth to our daughter like a couple weeks ago. Not a couple weeks. We're like 6 weeks now or something like that. Anyways, but she's amazing, and we have our daughter, Anaya, and you might be like, you're doing all this while having a baby. My wife and I have talked about this podcast and like what's going to be the case, after birth, but we both feel pretty strongly that we should just keep going in it. And so she's amazing because she holds down the fort when I go to record a podcast, or she's holding down the fort right now as I'm recording this podcast. And so she's amazing. And then we have our daughter, Anaya, and she's awesome. I love that. I mean, it's crazy. Like when you just see something, it's like, yo, I helped in creating this. It's like, yo, this is crazy. And my help is a lot less significant than her help. I mean, her help is, she created it. I feel like I just kind of gave her a couple materials, right? Anyways, but she is, they're both precious, and I'm thankful for them. And so anyways, what else about, I think that's it. I think that's all I really got. I love to write. I love to speak. And so sometimes I get opportunities to go speak at other places and speak about what I write occasionally. And I feel like at the end of the day, I just love people, love hanging out with people, love getting to know people. And when it comes to this whole project and mission, really when it comes to the Fitting Room, it's giving space for people to be listened to and heard. This is not an attempt to try to like evangelize you. When I sit down and talk with people, my goal is not, how can I tweak this to you coming on to Jesus and you giving your, like, I desperately just want to listen. Because I'm a big believer that listening is loving, right? And I mean, I feel like we live in a world right now that is just so chaotic. And what I mean by that is not necessarily chaotic. I mean, it could be chaotic in several different degrees, but more say we live in a world that people like to assume things about other people. Like we live in a very labeled world where you're this, I'm that. We don't mesh. And I believe that if you listen to people and you hear their story, you'll come to realize that we have more in common than we could even imagine. And if we took the time to listen, we could see that. And I like I said, I come from kind of like a faith background. I'm a pastor and all that, but the encouragement that God gave me on this, if you're willing to handle that, like the encouragement that God gave me for this podcast was not to evangelize people, but more say to evangelisten to people. Like listen, just sit there and listen, learn, see what you learn from their stories, see what you get, what you understand, and even maybe down the road you can help to foster an environment of listening. And so I want people from all different backgrounds to be able to come on this podcast and to share their story. We have been more say in the past been having more of kind of a bent towards faith and spirituality, and that's cool. But I want to hear people from all the different backgrounds. Like I want to hear people from different religions. I want to hear people from different cultures. Just being able to get a better picture of what we're all going through as humans and how to better foster an environment where people do feel loved because they feel listened to. And that's what listening is about. And the whole idea of the fitting room is like when you kind of boil it down, the image in my mind is like listening is almost like a fitting room, right? And I think everybody has gone through an experience where they've gone to a store and tried on some clothes to see if they fit, right? That's the idea, right? Like do you just to break it down a little bit further, right? Not to go too deep into this, but when you think about listening, imagine going into a store, and in this store, you have so many different types of clothes. You have a bunch of different sizes. You have a bunch of different textures, right? Different clothes textures. The different, some are jackets, some are t-shirts, some are button downs. There's a bunch of different styles. Like the clothing is something that could be just so vast, right? Because you have, like right now I'm I'm wearing sweats and a t-shirt and a windbreaker, right? Like this is my fit for today. And so when you walk into a store, you have all these different outfits, and you can think of all these different outfits as stories, right? And some of us can have assumptions about certain stories, but we never actually tried it on. We actually never really listened to that person's story, and so we make an assumption about that person. And so the fitting room is this idea of, hey, I want to take the time to see if this fits me. I want to take the time to see this perspective. And what's cool is, you pick out a couple outfits, you go into a fitting room, and the fitting room is kind of like a private, sacred space, right? You don't want somebody coming into your fitting room. I should probably say you don't want a stranger coming into your fitting room while you're trying to try something on. And as you are entering into that fitting room, what you're doing is you're not trying on the clothes on top of the clothes, right? And I feel like that's so much of how we listen is I'm listening to you, but I'm listening to you with my clothes on, meaning I have something I want to say to you, meaning I think you're crazy. I think you're not, I think you're dumb, and whatever you're doing. But we have our clothes still on. We have our perspective still on. We're not actually trying on the clothes. And so what you end up having to do is you have to set aside your clothes. You have to set aside your perspectives. You have to set aside what you think, what you assume about a person, about the label that they have. You have to set all that aside in order to truly try on their perspective, try on their story. And so as you're listening, all that you're trying to do is you're trying to see yourself in it. You're asking questions to better fit yourself into the moment so that when you look into the mirror, you see yourself in those clothes. And what's cool about the mirror is like the mirror is more about reflection. It's about, okay, when you look in the mirror and you're trying on some clothes, you're trying to figure out, what am I going to buy? Like, what am I going to keep? Like, what am I going to hold on to? What's worth purchasing? And that's what's cool when you really start to try on the clothes, when you really start to try on that perspective, when you really start to set yourself in it, you might think to yourself, oh, I want to keep this. I may need a medium, I might need a large, but I want to keep this. And I want to make this a part of my wardrobe when I go through life. And so what's cool is you don't have to buy it. Like, at the end of the day, you could put the clothes back and you can keep your clothes and move on. And I feel like sometimes we think to ourselves, listening costs, but I'm a big believer that listening really doesn't cost you anything but time. Just like going into a fitting room doesn't cost you anything but your time to get into that fitting room to try it on. And so as I'm sitting down and listening to people's stories, that's kind of what's going through my mind. Is I'm thinking to myself, okay, how I want to see myself in this, and I'm asking questions because I wanna go there with you. And I mean, with every person that I've listened to thus far on this journey, it was like I've learned stuff from all of them. Like, literally all of them, I've learned something. There's something that I took away, because I came to a point where, and this is the real kind of like landing point, which is when you're listening to somebody, you want to get to a point where when you hear their story and you come to that label, you can think to yourself, man, because I've heard this, because I've listened, because I've fully tried this on, I can see how you arrived at where you are at. And it doesn't mean that you agree with where they're at, but if you went through what they went through, you most likely would end up where they are too. And some people rock with that, some people don't. But that's the whole idea of the fitting room. It's creating that culture of listening where we don't go by labels, we go by stories. We don't go by making assumptions about you, we go by questions and curiosity, genuine curiosity. Not because sometimes when we ask questions, it can come from an angle of, I want to manipulate you, I want to get you trapped in your words. No, that this is, I want to try on your story. I want to understand. Like, I genuinely want to be able to look in the mirror and say, I fully tried this on. Maybe these jeans didn't fit, but I love this t-shirt. Maybe this jacket wasn't awesome, but I love these, these sweats. I don't know, like whatever people like. So anyways, so saying all this to say, like, this is kind of the idea of the fitting room. I just want to help foster an environment of people who are willing to listen, because there's so much that goes behind listening. There's so much that happens, whether it's involved in leadership, whether it's involved in whatever area that you want to go to in your life. I mean, even when it comes to relationships, listening is key. Like, everything kind of almost pivots on listening. If you're willing to listen, there's so much that can come from that. And so that's what we're doing. And along the way, I mean, I'm the type of person that I like to have fun. Like, I love to have fun. I love to, get together, do things. And so on this journey, I wanna try to also at the same time create avenues where we can connect as a community as this continues to develop. But right now, I got a newborn, and so that may not happen as quickly, but we're just going to take it one day at a time. I'm super excited. We've recorded some awesome episodes already. One actually dropped with this video just because I don't want this to be the only video that people get to see. Or if you're listening on the audio, I don't want this to be the only audio you listen to. I want you to hear somebody's story. And so thank y'all so much again for being a part of this community. Thank you so much for all the love and support. I'm excited. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's fall 2025 is now in session. Thank y'all so much. Y'all are awesome. Until next time, I hope that you see how you fit in the fitting room. Peace.